And I'd like to welcome a show from the MileHighReport.com, Mr. Jon Heath. John, how are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's always a pleasure to talk about NFL football, especially when we get near the end of the road here. We got the semifinals coming up here, conference championships. Let's talk about the game that was last weekend. The Broncos defeat the Chargers. How much credit has to be given to this defense or the Broncos?
I think a lot of credit. I think they've really been underrated unit all year, especially against the run. People haven't realized that they've been shutting down a lot of the top running backs in the NFL. When they played the Eagles earlier in the year, Sean McCoy, they shut him down. Well, last week, coming into the game, San Diego was really hot on the ground. I believe they held them to like 64 yards on the ground. So Denver should get a lot of credit. Obviously, the best defense is a good offense, and that's true for Denver this year because their offense is just putting up so many points. But I think the defense has held their own, and I think that'll help them go far this year.
You know, it's funny. You mentioned about the great ability to stop the run the Broncos defense has had, but I think, in this last game against the Chargers, Phil Rivers, you really got to say the pass rush was very strong. The coverage didn't allow much for Rivers until later in the fourth quarter, I think.
Yeah, the pass rush was strong. Sean Phillips has come up really big for them. He had 10 sacks in the regular season. He was a huge signing for them, especially because Von Miller missed the first 6 games of the year, and then now he's out for the year with an injury. So with guys like Sean Phillips stepping up for them on defense, with their pass rush being strong, they're good against the pass. It's slowing down QBs that way, and they're really getting hot against the run. So everything's kind of coming together for them right now.
You mentioned about the defense, and I guess, how much kind of hangover could there be with Von Miller, who missed the last 2 games of the regular season and obviously the playoffs? But is that going to be an issue that might cause some concern for this weekend's game against the Pats?
Is it a cause for concern that Miller won't be there?
Yeah.
I don't think it really is, because the defense, like I said, they started 6-0 without him, and the past few games they've been playing without him, and I don't think they've really missed a beat because, like I said, Sean Phillips has been up. They haven't really missed him as a pass rusher. I think where they miss him the most is against the run, because I think he's a very underrated run player. He sets the edge very well, and he always makes a couple tackles behind the line of scrimmage against the run every game. But they've also been pretty hot against the run, so I don't think it's something that they can't overcome. They've obviously proved this year that they can play without him.
The Broncos actually signed a couple players or added a couple guys. They had, it looks like is it a cornerback to replace Chris Harris Jr.? Or was it Marquise Cole? Is there a chance that this guy might get some action, some playing time?
He'll probably get some playing time, probably a little bit on special teams, and he may be in there on nickel, but he's probably not going to be starting. It's more just kind of a depth signing, and probably a little bit of get some information on New England just before they play them.
Yeah, there's always that gamemanship, isn't there? We're talking Denver Broncos football, Mr. Jon Heath from MileHighFootball.com. I guess my next question is, Peyton Manning is a terrific competitor. He's a proud guy. I suspected, did today's announcement he's the MVP of the league, would that be something he would want, or is he still looking forward to the Super Bowl games?
You asked if becoming league MVP is important?
Yeah, was that? Do you think that's an important thing for Peyton Manning right now?
I think, obviously, it's probably in the back of his mind right now. It's probably the last thing on his mind. But I think at the beginning of the year, he sets goals. He wants to be the best quarterback. He wants to be league MVP every year. But I think the top of his priorities is get to the Super Bowl and win it. So I don't think it's something that's hot on his mind, but I'm sure it's something that he strives to achieve.
Well, let's talk about this matchup coming up this weekend, the Patriots against the Broncos. This is, I'd assume, a lot of footballs want to see this. You want to see Manning versus Brady. These two quarterbacks, is it too simple to suggest that this game will be won or lost between whoever has the better game between those quarterbacks?
Yeah, I don't think that would be too far-fetched to say that. It will probably come down to if whoever has the ball late in the game, a quarterback, making a throw or making a crucial interception. Manning kind of been haunted last year. He threw that interception in overtime against the Ravens. The Ravens kicked a field goal, went on to win the Super Bowl. And Brady's made a couple clutch drives in his career, and so has Manning. So I think it could easily come down to a quarterback having a one of these guys winning it at the end or one of these guys just kind of having a blow-it moment.
Tom Brady, obviously we know he's a clutch performer. What does the defense for the 49ers have to do to kind of keep this guy from winning the game himself?
Well, I think it actually starts with stopping the run because last week Tom Brady, I believe, didn't even throw a touchdown pass. So right now they're a very hot running team, and that bodes well for Denver because their defensive strength right now is stopping the run. So I think if they can stop the run, that'll slow down New England's offense a lot. And then once they stop the run, New England will have to resort to passing. And they're obviously not a bad passing team. Whenever you have Tom Brady, you're going to be able to throw the football. But I think New England's number one goal in recent weeks has been run the football down their throat. And I don't think Denver will let them do that. And I think that'll bode well for Denver playing at home.
We know that Belichick, the head coach of the Patriots, is a guy that's an innovator. He's not going to sit down and just keep doing what's been working so well. I suspect, in my opinion, he's been maybe setting up for this game, knowing that the Broncos do like to stop the run. Do you feel that there's a chance that they'll be throwing the ball early to throw the Broncos off their game plan?
Yeah, I could see that. I could see them coming out and trying to sling it around a little bit because they've been running so much in recent weeks. It'll be a chess match. And the thing about that, though, John Fox and the Broncos and Peyton Manning, they're one of the best teams in the NFL at second half adjustments. I believe they set a record this year for the most points scored in the second half. And in a lot of games, their defense has stepped up as well in the second half of games. So I think early on, the Patriots could throw them off, maybe march right down the field on their first drive and score. You see that a lot happen in games because an offense comes out doing something that they weren't ready for preparing in the week. But once they adjust, I think they'll be able to recover if New England does have something like that up their sleeve.
We're talking with Jon Heath from MileHighReport.com. We're talking Denver Broncos taking on the mighty New England Patriots at home, actually, in Denver. Now, that's my next question for you, John, is, was this important for the Denver Broncos to get home field advantage, knowing they're probably going to have to take on Tom Brady and his Patriots there?
Oh, yeah, that's huge. If this game was in New England, it'd be a totally different game that we'd be talking about. In my mind, Denver is looking very good in this game. But if it was on the road in New England, I'd have a totally different thought process about it. I think at home with their home crowd, I think they're going to be able to run the ball well because they have an underrated running offense with Moreno's really getting it done for them. And now they have Monte Ball, who's been kind of their smash mouth guy. And I don't think New England is going to be able to handle them like they did in the second half of the regular season when they played in New England earlier in the year. I think it's going to be a totally different game this time around.
How important is the play of Julius Thomas, the big tight end for the Broncos in this game?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
I'm sorry, how important will be the play of Julius Thomas in this game against the Pats this weekend?
I think Thomas will be huge because obviously they have Demaryius Thomas and Eric Decker on the outside and then Welker in the slot, and those guys give teams a whole lot of trouble. So a lot of teams will try to key on those players or at least key on one or two of them. And when you do that, you have to put somebody like a linebacker on Thomas, and that's really a mismatch for a lot of teams because Thomas, like you said, he's such a big guy and he's so hard to cover, and he's been having such a great year. I think Thomas, he had two huge catches at the end of the San Diego game last week that allowed Denver to they gained some first downs at the end of the game and just ran out the clock. He was huge last week. I could see him coming up huge again for Denver this week.
Just a couple more questions for you. Jon Heath from Mile High Report. The Broncos taking on the Patriots at home this weekend in the Conference Championship. In your opinion, what is a wild card that could be the Achilles heel for the Denver Broncos this weekend against the Patriots?
I believe the wild card could be Knowshon Moreno. I think he had over 200 rushing yards the last time they played, and I think Denver, what they're going to want to do is they want to run the ball and control the game, control the clock, and you want to keep a guy like Tom Brady off the field. So if they can control the time of possession, I think they'll be in great shape, and that starts with being able to run the ball. And I think Moreno's going to be fed the ball a lot because of the success they had the last time they played them. They're going to want to try to repeat that. And so I think Moreno could end up coming up big for them, and he could have Probably not a 4-touchdown performance, but I think he could be the factor in this week like Blunt was for the Patriots last week.
We're a few days away from this game. John, any idea what the weather might be like at down there in Denver? It could be a wild one, could it not?
Compared to last week, the weather is going to be beautiful. I believe it's going to be in the 50s. It's going to be a pretty nice day, I believe. It's great football weather.
Perfect. That is classic NFL football playoff weather. That's great. Well, listen, John, enjoy the weekend. It's going to be a good game. That game goes Sunday at 2 o'clock Eastern. Of course, the 49ers are on with the Seahawks afterwards later on Sunday night. Both should be good games. Any last-minute predictions for 49ers Seahawks?
Ooh, I think the Seahawks will win that one probably around 24-21.
So I assume you're thinking Broncos Seahawks in the Super Bowl.
That's what I'm thinking.
All right. Well, there are a lot of Broncos fans up here that are hoping you're right. Listen, John, thank you for your time. As always, great insight, and we'll talk to you again very soon, sure.
All right. Thank you for having me.